Good morning. Good morning. Every time I sit down here, I question myself, why am I doing this? Who wants to hear it? I have these thoughts go through my head all day, and for some reason, it's always of me sharing it, whether it's because I'm working on several other projects, and they all require video. They include videos, and so I'm always thinking of just life in general, what I do, and how I can share it. And part of me is like, who wants to hear it? But I have to remind myself that I think that hopefully it'll help someone. It's just my outlet to get it out there. It's a platform for me. Some people write, some people they have other people that they share their thoughts and stuff with. Some people keep it in. Because some of my thoughts are kind of out there, uh, I'm sometimes misunderstood or people just don't get it. So I realize that this is a platform that I can just put it out there and whoever wants it can get it. And hopefully, if somebody needs it, they'll be attracted to it. So, I have to remind myself of that. And that's kind of the premise of what the video was about today is getting what you want, staying focused, because so many things take us off track. What's our purpose? Why are we here? What do I want? Why do things happen? And when I started the video the first time, the, I don't know. Well, you can't. It's not pointed out there, but they've cleared all this field out, and there's a couple of older gentlemen from the church. They're always out there doing something. I mean, it's beautifully the landscape, but they're always working anyway. So he comes by with his little lawnmower, and it seems like I always get interrupted with my videos. So now, if you're being over analytical, I could say, well, maybe it's a sign that I shouldn't do the video. It's a dangerous trap. We have to be careful. Uh, it's been doing that since I was like 14 when I started going to church. Everything happens for a reason. God has a plan. And if something happened or didn't work, or I still remember the day I was trying to cut my grass. At 14 years old, lawnmower wouldn't start. I'm like, okay, so why doesn't God want me to cut the grass today? That's a little bit overboard. So that's why I always say be aware. Uh, it's a challenge. Life is a challenge. Life isn't hard. It's a challenge. Everything's a challenge. Challenges make us grow. Some of us challenge ourselves on purpose. We do things more difficult. Like for example, I want to train to do a triathlon. I want to challenge myself physically. And I'm I'm going to share more on that tomorrow. I'm going to give you my view of why we're here on Earth, came to this world. It's a little bit I I like raw. I like raw honesty, but with tact. And I used to always worry about who I would offend. But I'm getting to the point where I I just have to tell you how I feel. I just have to be honest. And you have to do that to attract the right people to you, because if you're not honest with who you really are, you're going to attract who you're pretending to be, and then you're going to realize that's not who you want to be. And it all takes time, and sometimes we have to learn through what we don't want. Something happens or comes to us and we're like, wow, I didn't like that. So you don't focus on you don't want that, you just continue to focus on what you want. And I have to remind myself that of, and it's sometimes it's the smallest minute things. Especially with my business venture, I'm like, what do I want? What's the end goal? Why am I doing it? And most of the time when we want stuff, it's not a specific thing, it's not a specific person, it's not money, it's the feeling that it gives us. Like say if you want a boat, because you love being out on the boat, you love being on the water, you love how that feels. So you say, naturally, you're going to say, well, I got to get the money so I can get the boat, so I can get that feeling. Focus on that feeling. Focus on that feeling when you think about it, when you're sitting there, just think about what it feels like. The boat, you're hitting the waves, you find some place to dock, you're swimming. Focus on what that feels like. That's what you want. If somebody came up and says, you know what, I'm tired of taking care of this boat, uh, you can have it. Give me $50. Runs great. Hell, it happens. My brother got a free sailboat. He had to go pick it up, and of course he has to pay to keep it docked and stuff. But I mean, it was a working sailboat. Uh, so it happens. You just have to know what you want and what that feels like. Don't always focus on the how. That'll come. Most things, yes, we need money, but if that's the avenue for you to get the boat, and I'm just using a boat as an example, maybe it's a motorcycle, maybe it's a car or whatever. Focus on the feeling of what that feels like. And it goes to, you always use this example of the restaurant. You have to know what you want, right? Now, can you get that feeling someplace other than a boat? Well, I mean, if that's what it is, being on the water, being on that boat, driving the boat, fishing off the boat, swimming off the boat, going to a destination, then it has to be a boat, right? So the how, the money, and how you're going to get the boat is different. Now, there might be other things, uh, like, say, a job. Instead of saying, I want this specific job at this specific company with this specific thing, you focus on the feeling that you're going to get. I want a job that I'm creative using these skills, and I would like to have, I want to feel secure with benefits, and then let the rest come. Then let the opportunities present themselves. See, if you say, okay, I want to work for this company because I believe they have these things that will make me feel this way, you don't know that for sure. Now, it can happen if your mind is set there. It's kind of like they say, if you're having a problem at work, at a job, and you leave, you take yourself with you. So if you're the cause of that problem, and you can look back, whether it's relationships or work, if you tend to have the same problems, you have to look at yourself. It's not always the case. Sometimes it is the job. Sometimes it is the other person. And that's the challenge of being aware. Self-reflection is difficult. It really is. It's a challenge. I don't like the word difficult. It's a challenge, and it's something that uh, just like I share in my weight loss on the fundamental diet. It's don't don't focus. Just focus on the end result. Don't. Well, for example, I use the scale. I use the scale as a tool to see what the results are. I don't get emotionally attached to it. If the scale goes up the next day, oh well. I look at what I did the day before. What can I change? Can I change what I ate? Can I change what it is? If there's nothing I can change, I'm like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, then just keep going. That's where it's a challenge to not become emotionally attached to certain things, to certain outcomes. And it all goes right back to, what do you want? Focus on that. Focus on the feeling. But you have to know what you want to be able to put it out there to draw it to you. It's like, like I said, with going into the restaurant, you don't just sit there and say, I'm hungry, bring me some food. So is the waitress going to sit there and go through the menu? Well, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want meat? Yeah, I want some meat. Well, do you want fish, chicken, or steak? Um, I don't know. You choose. Well, you get two sides. What do you want? I don't know. You choose. Are you living by default? Are you living on purpose? When you go to the restaurant, you say, I want a steak. I want it cooked medium. I want mashed potatoes and broccoli. Do you know what you want? And life, if you're certain, usually brings you what you want, just like the waitress does. So be aware. It takes practice. It takes time, and that's what I have to keep reminding myself. That's why I try to come every day. And this is more for me, as much for me as it is for anybody else that needs it. It's a daily thing. It's constant. It's like breathing. Which reminds me, thank you for reminding me that. Uh, I catch myself hold my breath a lot as I'm starting to try to be more aware of my breathing. So I've watched, and I've mentioned it before, the breathing techniques in yoga. There's breathing techniques. This guy Wim Hof has some breathing techniques. Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I was watching two different TED talks, and the guys were talking about breathing, and it's so neat how there's, even with breathing techniques, they all have different techniques and different ways to do it. So I'm like, okay, just like everything else in life, you have to say, okay, he does it this way. What are the results for that? He does it. Let me try this. Let me see this, and let me do what works for me. Bottom line, fundamentally, I know taking deep breaths helps. It helps me. Uh, when you find yourself in a situation, your brain needs oxygen. So the more oxygen it gets, it's your muscles, the more oxygen it gets, the better. So even though we breathe automatically, we need to learn to breathe on purpose. And I did that for a while, and I can't remember where I got that from, but I remember it had an effect. When I would do things, I would stop and think, okay, breathe before I would do something, and then that went away, and now it's come back again, and it's helping me. Uh, I can feel a difference physically, mentally. But these are just things that I want to share with you, and we're at 13 minutes. I don't like to get too long. I like to keep things simple, keep it in chunks. That's the way I like to absorb my stuff. So I'm going to stop it there. Tomorrow, if all things go well, I'm taking a small field trip tomorrow if I get my work done today to reward myself. I will share with you my thoughts on why we're here. Kind of interesting. Why we came here. Good, bad, and indifferent. We chose to be here in good situations and bad situations. And I'll tell you my thoughts on why.